enemies that, really just maintains the status quo for the most part, then I feel like his chances are diminishing.
Taryn, the show really started to set up this whole storyline that went on during the course of the week with David and his blunder with spilling what Tyler had told him to Bailey and Davon, and then really upsetting Tyler and Cody. And that is, I think, still a very fluid situation that we're dealing with for this week. Do you see any overlap coming between what we saw with potentially the Hinky vote, where Danny is trying to throw Bailey and Davon potentially under the bus, and then also this other incident that's going on with this other, I guess, like, we're looking at the map and there's these storm systems merging together, which happens in real life. Do you see those two things coming together to really shake up this week?
Not likely. So what the show didn't show is that Tyler and Cody managed to shut this down pretty effectively, and Bailey and Davon trust that Tyler and Cody did not do this, even though they kind of did, and so that's fine now. But nobody trusts David. Everybody blames David for it, which is very typical of the Big Brother house. Is an easy scapegoat that can't communicate his way out of it. So he's the guy that everyone is going to blame. So I don't really see that interacting too much with this Hinky vote stuff. However, I do think the Hinky vote stuff may interact with Davon and Bailey's natural suspicion of Tyler, Cody, Danny, and Nicole as a potential foursome. And especially if they feel like they're getting blamed for it, I could definitely see them really starting to retreat away from this Slick Six group.
Yeah, I don't even like Danny's plan in the first place, Rob, because the point of making the Slick Six in the first place is to keep Bay and Day at bay, to keep them satisfied. But when you throw them under the bus and frame them with Hinky votes, like, they're not idiots. They're going to understand that we're being framed by other people to try to make us look guilty as if we kept Janelle. So they're going to they're not going to be sitting pretty. They're going to be asking questions. They're going to be investigating. Davon is going to want to solve the puzzle, and that's not going to help Danny. I feel like it would be better for Danny if they were more placid and more satisfied with the status quo. Davon was just saying, like, yesterday or today, that she feels the best she's ever felt in the game. She feels so safe right now. Like, why are you going to want to upset that balance, Danny? I don't understand.
I also think it's a bad plan to falsely accuse Davon and Bailey of doing something that they didn't do. I see them being able to defend themselves very, very well, and are not like, I think that they will be defend their position so much that you say, it really doesn't seem like they're lying.
Davon will never let go of this until she figures out the truth.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I kind of wonder, though, if Danny will come clean and just be like, oh, I promised Janelle from the beginning that I would never vote. I would never vote for her. And so maybe she can fall back on that just to stay in their good graces.
Yeah, and we haven't even considered that. Maybe Enzo did his own thing, and maybe Danny is not really trying to throw a Hinky vote. Maybe in her weird mind thinks that, as long as she doesn't actually vote to evict Janelle, that maybe she's staying true to whatever pre-game deal that her and Janelle made. I know Taryn floated that on the update earlier today, that Danny, even though she's been campaigning against Janelle, that maybe if she actually doesn't nominate her, or if she doesn't vote against her, that maybe she's theoretically staying true to whatever deal they might have made.
I mean, she learned from Eric Stein until production told him to cut it out, right? He had to vote a certain way, but he tried to influence things in the opposite way.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we think that David is in danger to go home anytime soon after all of these making so many people mad, or is he just now pencil him in for the final two?
I don't think he's going to get to the final two, but I think he's going to be a perpetual pawn. He'll be the renom. I feel like Davon and Bailey are in a pretty shaky situation for the next couple rounds for sure. And I think that David would be an easy renom.
Yeah, something that happened today is that Christmas actually changed her plans, for now. She had initially been planning on nominating Davon and Bailey if she won HOH. However, last night she stayed up with Davon and Bailey, trash-talking David about his lack of knowledge in the game. And this morning she had reason to believe that he may have heard some of it. And so now she's like, well, now I got to get this guy out of the house. And so that was kind of what she was thinking today. Although I think even if she does target David, it's hard to see where the votes come to get him out. And I think that people would probably talk her out of it in the first place. Davon also wants to target David. If Davon was HOH, I think people would kind of let it happen. But who knows?
Yeah, can I just talk really quickly about David? Because
Yes,
I do
please.
want to note that the show did a actually pretty good job of making him look somewhat like an okay Big Brother player. Like, obviously he made a mistake and like really screwed up, but they cut out a lot of the pauses that he has when he talks. Like, I'm not even going to try to do it on the podcast because it would honestly infuriate the audience, but he is absolutely like unable to communicate in an effective manner. He has zero emotional intelligence and just doesn't know how to bond people in the Big Brother house. And they made it look like he actually was an okay-ish / bad player, which is not even the level of bad that he is. Like, he's terrible. He's really, really bad at the Big Brother game, and they didn't show that tonight. So God bless them.
You'll notice that everything that that David says in the episode is a Frankenbite. Like, everything he says is
Okay.
cut together.
Can I ask this question? Because going back to last season, I don't remember hearing this about him. Not that he was, playing particularly great, but in terms of having conversation, I don't remember hearing this criticism of him having very stilted conversations. Was that there last year and we just weren't talking about it?
It was. We talked about it briefly, but he wasn't really in the game, so it didn't matter all that much.
Mhm.
But he had some very awkward conversations with Kat, especially with Holly. Where he would like talk to somebody and it would like they were having two different conversations, and we were like, this is weird, but I don't know, it's a weird house. So,
right, but then they cut to the
Weird
diary
house.
room where he gave like, a litany of different things that might have been happening in the Big Brother house. And at one point he said, I'm reading the situation. I think there's this big alliance that's happening. And we're all like, oh my God, he's so good at reading people. But of course that might have been like amongst 1,000 things that he said in the diary room. And they just made him look like
it never matched what he was saying on the feeds. It never did.
Mm-hmm. Chantel, can I just ask you a theory about David? That do you feel like that is any part of this like a self-fulfilling prophecy in terms of like, has David, he's went through this whole experience with Camp Comeback, he's told he can't talk about the game, then he comes into this house and you have Memphis and all these people, you're just a rookie, you don't know what he's doing, and now here he is making mistakes. He's like, oh, I guess I'm just such a rookie. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, do you think that is there an alternate reality where had David not been that first person out in that first house, could he have gone on a different trajectory? But now he just has this baked into who he is.
I would say that if he had actually played a full season of Big Brother, he would be a little bit of a better player. But I don't think, now seeing him in this season, that he has the capability. Like, I don't
He
think
doesn't have
that
the shot.
He's broken now.
I don't think he's a good at this game.
It's
He doesn't
broken.
watch it. He doesn't see it. Like, he just doesn't. I don't think it's possible.
In order to be able to be effective in Big Brother, you have to be able to communicate well with other people. You have to make them believe that you have their own best interest at heart. And he just is not good at the basic 101 level of talking with people in a coherent
But
manner
he
that
doesn't
makes
know
them
the
feel
game at
I know,
all.
I
At
know.
all. And so, yeah, I don't think he's ever going to do well or whatever.
Ovi has tweeted out that he prepared seasons for David to watch. I know that he had put together like some competitions to study. Like, Ovi really did some homework for David to study, and David apparently didn't.
You can lead a horse to water.
Yeah.
You can't get them to drink it. I recall.
Why wasn't Ovi on the season? Like, anybody at this point.
Yeah. that there was once upon a time that I did do some interviews for the first Big Brother celebrity, and that I was there with the people as they brought them in, and Meta World Peace was there, and they said, Meta, did you get the DVDs that we sent you? And he said, yeah, and I threw them all in the garbage, which ironically was in what they did with the interviews that I did right after that. They also threw them in the garbage. So
the lost tapes. Yes,
you
we
could,
remember those well.
you know, try to get people to watch stuff, but they don't want to. They're not going to do it. Okay. Let's see. From this episode, we had campaigning. We had the whole business with David and going back to Tyler and Cody.
I want to say something positive about Tyler. Can I say something positive about Tyler since I never get a chance? Because people think I'm anti-Tyler. I must give him credit. That was a real fire that was set for him in the Big Brother house this week. I really thought his game was going to come crashing down. And he did a really effective job. They didn't even really show it on the episode. He did such a good job of really trying to put out the fire that was started by David between himself and Bailey and Davon in a way that really made them think, you know what, we believe Tyler.
Yes,
and
I mean
that wasn't evident on Tuesday night.
Brent, I mean that is Tyler, the really vintage Tyler from Big Brother 20, where the first half in the early days, in the first half of the game, where that I used to say that Big Brother 20 was like a sitcom where Tyler was the main character, where like he's got like, oh, my boss is here, oh, okay, dinner is on fire in the oven, okay, quick, let me put that in the fire, and then let me get back up here, and then let me jump into this conversation with somebody else who doesn't know that my other boss is in the other room. And he had all this stuff going on. That's why, like, once he settled into showman's Tyler, he definitely became a much less exciting figure on the show. But this is what he does. He's great at sort of like keeping all these plates spinning.
Yes, I remember like in the early days of Big Brother 20, I would give him like 5s and 6s on the stock watch because I'm like, well, he can't keep all of these plates spinning forever, and then he did, and then fast forward to this season, and things have been going pretty smoothly up until now. But he didn't play as hard early this season as he did in the early part of Big Brother 20. However, what you can't account for is the fact that sometimes other people make you play hard. And what David did was effectively make Tyler play harder than he might not have otherwise had to have played. And the thing is, it was a lot of it was luck. Like Tyler even notes on the feeds that like so much of this game is luck because Tyler happened to be coming around the corner when David was talking to Bay. And if that doesn't happen, I know that David rats himself out to Tyler and says, look, I threw you under the bus and I'm sorry.
Okay. Whoa.
I know.
That drag racing going on right there, huh?
Someone's driving down the street. You can hear that?
I'd love to just touch on Ian real quick. We had a moment in the episode. It was really not part of any other storyline other than a quick shot of us finding out Ian. Hey, don't forget about him. Ian says, this is exactly where I wanted to be. I want to play dumb, which he did say coming into the house about 5 weeks or so. Get a quick shot of Ian talking with Christmas.
What are you making?
Okay. Taryn, are you finding this consistent with what you've been seeing from Ian on the feeds?
No.
Not in the least.
Ian is always like, we know Ian, like he can't help himself. He's stomping people in backgammon. He's rattling off facts. Like he's not acting like he's dumb.
He got competitive in that charades game that they played. Like there's no way anyone's like even if this was a real plan that he's actually implementing in the Big Brother house, there's no way that people are going to buy that Ian, who's literally one of the smartest people in the house, is dumb. Like they might buy that he's quiet, but they're not